Hello, my name's Gray Juba. I'm the OT data and community strategist here at FlowFuse. Backgrounds, everything from automation controls to manufacturing, discrete manufacturing. Spent some time in the data world and then the OT cybersecurity world. Various different backgrounds, and we'll be kind of talking about the applications today about NCD and how their wireless sensors and gateways can collect information from these industrial environments, leveraging wireless networks. But before I steal all the thunder, I'm gonna let Travis kick it off and introduce himself, and then go from there.
Yep, my name is Travis Elliott. I work for National Control Devices. Our website is ncd.io if you'd like to check out what we're all about. I am the Chief Operating Officer here. I've been with National Control Devices. I started working there in high school whenever I was about 15 years old, but have been here pretty solid since 2008. I work mainly in development, but I also do a lot of sales and support. I'm more on the software, firmware integration side of the development. But if you do work with National Control Devices and you have questions, you would speak with me directly for the most part. Myself or Bob Oscar, my counterpart on the hardware side, who is the CEO. But we design and manufacture electronics. Everything is built here in the U.S. We're very proud to be a US-based hardware manufacturer in a world of mainly foreign hardware. So yeah, looking forward to speaking with you all today, and hopefully we can inform you on some cool stuff. Yeah, so National Control Devices was founded in 1995 by Ryan Sheldon. We specialized in mainly relay control products for control applications. About 2016, 2017, we transitioned more into monitoring with sensors, and we'll get into that more as we go on. But we've always prided ourselves on high quality electronics, like I said, designed and manufactured here in the United States. And basically, our mission is to provide quality hardware for industrial applications, where that is at the forefront of people's minds because it's very important to their operations. But yeah, preventing downtime, through predictive maintenance, productivity monitoring, energy monitoring, a lot of stuff like that. So key products that we offer, like I said, we started with relay controllers. We do still offer a very wide array of relay control products for just about any application. But our main focus now is the IoT wireless sensors that are part of the Enterprise series. Remote control systems through relay control, and then monitoring through the wireless sensors. We've worked with just about any company that you can think of over the span of our business life, from just about any industry you can think of. Manufacturing is probably at the forefront of what we're doing now with Industrial IoT. But also energy, utilities, agriculture, transportation, just about anything. These products lend themselves well to, so very wide range of industry. So just a little bit about the enterprise line of IoT sensors. What we set out to do with this line of products was to really not hyper focus on any one thing like vibration or temperature, but to actually build an ecosystem of wireless sensors. And the idea is you have a manufacturing plant. You don't just want to do one thing. You want to monitor several processes. You want to monitor several pieces of equipment in different ways, whether that may be current monitoring, vibration monitoring through predictive maintenance, the pulse counting for productivity monitoring. We're releasing a line of uptime monitoring sensors to just kind of give you a snapshot of how often equipment is being utilized and when maintenance may be required just based on the duty cycle of that equipment. We do have a lot of our devices are class 1 div 2 certified now. We've got a pretty wide range of products that have that certification, and pretty much everything in the enterprise line is IP rated, IP65 at a minimum, up to IP67. The enterprise line was designed to be battery powered for simple and quick deployment on the factory floor. But we do offer external power option if that's something that's important to you. But our goal is to reach at least a 3-year battery life on pretty much everything in that line. The enterprise wireless products utilize a protocol called DigiMesh. You've probably all heard of LoRa. DigiMesh is similar, but it gives us a lot more flexibility, especially whenever it comes to vibration monitoring. Whenever we want to send raw time domain data, we can do that. LoRa really doesn't allow us to do that. So since vibration monitoring is sort of at the forefront of industrial IoT, we standardized on the DigiMesh protocol to be able to send that raw time domain data as needed. And then sort of on the back end of the enterprise line is Node-RED. We're very excited to be working with FlowFuse. We've been huge Node-RED fans from the get-go. I believe I started working with it probably around 2015. We started getting very fascinated with Node-RED. And then we eventually built gateways that ran Node-RED right on board. And that is really the backbone of the enterprise line. We do offer white labeling at no additional charge. We are a hardware provider. We're not a full turnkey solution provider. So a lot of our customers are solution providers, and we are the hardware behind that solution. So white labeling is very important. We offer custom design services. If you can't find what you need in the enterprise line, which is getting harder and harder to do by the day, we can custom design solutions for you. And our sales and support team are all based here in the US. You're either going to speak with Bahasker, Jacob, or myself directly. You don't need to go through first level support or anything like that. You're going to talk directly to the people who are designing and developing these products and understand them very deeply. And yeah, simple to implement dashboards, and FlowFuse is definitely helping quite a bit with that, no doubt. Yeah, no problem. And once again, you know, we are proudly designed and manufactured right here in the United States.
My screen decided to take a little bit of a exciting jump for me. Make sure. Okay, there we go. Back at it. Sorry, my things changed on my side. So go ahead.
No problem. So the enterprise line of wireless series, the enterprise series of wireless devices designed for industrial IoT, they're fantastic on their own, but we need to ingest that data, convert it into real world values, JSON objects, and then we need a way to get that to different cloud platforms. We are cloud agnostic, so we will help you get that data to any platform you desire. And the Enterprise Gateway is the way that happens. This is a Debian Linux-based device, which you will have root access to be able to ingest that data, and then, you know, either running Node-RED locally on the Enterprise Gateway or through FlowFuse, giving you the ability to remotely manage and deploy those flows to multiple devices across your fleet. The Enterprise Gateway is sort of the conversion from the local site to the cloud. So you can run local dashboards on it through Node-RED, as I would recommend remote dashboards through FlowFuse, which is very exciting. It really gives you a lot of flexibility to do basically anything that you want to do, and you're going to be hard pressed to find something you need to do that you can't do through the Enterprise Gateway and Node-RED. So hit the next one there, Greg. Yeah, so from the get-go, the goal of the Enterprise series of products was industry. We believe that was an underserved market from an availability standpoint. There's a lot of solution providers out there that offer turnkey solutions, but there wasn't a lot of companies that were actually just focusing on the hardware and building an ecosystem for industry. So the enterprise line of products was built for industry to be rugged and reliable in any environment. We have tens of thousands of these sensors deployed throughout the world in some of the harshest conditions you can imagine. There's about 8,000 devices currently deployed in Chile, which is remote locations, rugged conditions, outdoors, in the elements. And we're seeing about a 99.5% uptime of those devices over the last 3 years. And then also, on factory floors, wash down conditions, harsh environments there, coolers, and they're performing extremely well and really living up to that industrial IoT name. Yeah, so customer use cases. I kind of touched on some of this before. Predictive maintenance is probably at the forefront. That is it's a really good way to pay for this type of hardware is predictive maintenance. If you have a facility that's relying on a single asset to operate and that asset goes down, that facility stops, and all the productivity, all the revenue that would have been generated that day or maybe that week if you have to wait for parts to come in is gone. So predictive maintenance is through industrial IoT is a huge deal. We also work with a lot of partners who do energy consumption monitoring, whether that be water, gas, electricity, really just providing the customer with more information about their energy consumption, what's consuming it, how much it's costing, and allowing them to plan better based on that information. And then we have productivity tracking. There's a lot of different sensors that will give you an idea of, how much you're actually producing, whether that's through pulse counters, through I-beam sensors. We can provide solutions for that. We do a lot of RS-45 and RS-45 Modbus, so we can tie into existing equipment to get an idea of what's going on. Machine uptime monitoring is a new market that we're pretty excited about. We actually offer a machine uptime monitor product on our site. It'll be the first one that comes up on store.ncd.io. And the goal of that product is to let you know how utilized a piece of equipment is. And also, through that, you're going to get productivity tracking, and then you're also going to get an idea of how often that piece of equipment needs or requires maintenance just based on its runtime. Environmental monitoring, we offer a lot of air quality sensors. We can tell you, particulate matter concentration. So, when it's safe for people to be there, when people need to be wearing respirators. It's becoming very prevalent in the construction industry, where the EPA is actually requiring a lot of construction sites to monitor the amount of particulate they're putting in the air, different VOCs and gases that are being produced. So we have a pretty wide range of products to allow you to monitor the environment, as well as temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, things like that. And then just general safety, that kind of ties in with environmental monitoring pretty well as also smart agriculture. That can be anything from, crops, field crops, all the way to aquatic agriculture, where we're monitoring soil moisture, soil temperature, pH, electrical connectivity. We can really give you a lot of information for smart agriculture. And with the long range wireless capabilities of the enterprise line, you can think of an entire farm coming back from the sensors. The sensor data can hit repeaters to get that data back to the central gateway running Node-RED and FlowFuse to get that to a dashboard or a platform. Structural monitoring is another thing that we do. So we have some wire draw sensors as well as some linear displacement sensors, and that's being used in bridges, large buildings, so that we can see, how those are holding up, how the building's moving, how the bridge is moving. So we have some solutions there as well.
Oh, that's interesting. So one of the things that comes into my mind is, especially when you got into the smart agricultural thing, is wastewater for plants
Hmm.
and facilities and things like that. A lot of the times you have to
Yep.
maintain a pH balance on your wastewater, especially if you're using and consuming a lot of water. And if you
Hmm.
get outside of those ranges, they start, the water treatment plants get a little upset about that. So I could actually
Yeah.
just see immediately my brain's going back to my previous use cases in life about how to apply some of these things. I'm like, oh, this is great. I could have used this back in, a couple of years ago. So no, it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. We work with a lot of paper mills in that.
Mhm. Yeah, awesome. Well, great overview. I'm going to give a little bit of an overview about FlowFuse because I think we might have some people from, from different sides of the, from some people coming in from the NCD, maybe wanting to know a little bit more about FlowFuse. So I'm going to give a kind of like a general brief overview. So one of the things that I really like to start out with is, one of the things that Travis kind of said was like, why? Why do some of these things exist? How did we get here? What's the story and things like that? Um, and one of the things that we kind of believe is we believe that domain experts are the like primary drivers of innovation. By empowering these experts with the right tools, we enable them to excel not only with their current roles, but throughout their career. So one of the things I think about is domain experts a lot of times just they're the people that know how a process should work. They understand it, and sometimes articulating how things can kind of come together is takes time. And it's kind of like that telephone game that I've given analogies before. It's kind of like data when you try to communicate data across multiple different systems. If it changes or the naming convention changes, it starts getting muddied about what the true meaning of that value. And it kind of goes the same way when they're trying to develop something. That's where like Node-RED is really, really, really beneficial. Is essentially the person in charge of the said project is also the person creating the interactions with it. And before Node-RED, it was a lot of requirements of like development teams and interactions and creating a statement of work about what needed to happen. And then I always like to create an example where the domain expert is sitting there. Sorry, let me think about this for a second. Where the person creating the story or the process or the system um were sorry, I have a distraction in the background that's throwing me off a little bit, so let me start over. So when you're creating this system, you have to explain it to somebody. You have to create a statement of work. And when that statement of work is put into play, there's always like that catch, that thing that's like not clearly transmitted. And you have a lot of this iterative, and it takes a lot of times to kind of build out these solutions. And so one of the things that we've kind of see is we want to enable more people to deploy this without necessarily having that technical development background. Because really, at the end of the time, we're dedicated to providing solutions that unlock that potential, ensuring that their expertise translates into impactful and innovative outcomes. So it's kind of why FlowFuse is here, how we want to take Node-RED and really bring it up. So how do we do that? So what we do is we are a platform that focuses on operations and maintenance, developer velocity, and security and compliance. And so those are a lot of words, but we'll kind of go over what those mean. So managing multiple low code environments at a single time, it can be kind of complex. And what we mean by that is you might have multiple Node-RED instances running, let's say, in your cloud or out in the field, in this particular case on like the gateway, the NCD gateway, in which you want to be able to access them. And you also want to have security and compliance associated with it, like remote access control. So you don't have to necessarily worry about VPing into a box that has access to it. So therefore you can hop into that different system. So we manage that with both role-based access, while also managing multiple devices so you can access those all from a single platform, whether that be in the cloud or on-prem, or kind of bring your own cloud and put it on your own kind of cloud environment. Developer velocity. So one of the things we think about is DevOps pipeline. What that means is you need an environment in which you can develop against before you put into production. So we, within our solution, that makes it very easy to kind of create that staging process where you're going to be um, creating an environment, a Node-RED instance, and you're going to say, hey, I want to put this in production. But the first thing I'm going to do is put in staging, testing it out on one of those kind of like on the product line, but it's not in production. And then the last one is roll it out to the field. And with the DevOps pipeline, we also have the ability to group. So let's say you have an application where vibration monitoring sensors, which we're doing today, you did a change to your dashboard. You want to roll that out to all of them. This makes it very easy with the DevOps pipeline to roll it out in one single deployment. So we're really concerned about making that speed. And then I touched on the security and compliance a little bit, but I want to highlight SSO integration, role-based access, audit logs. We certify nodes, and we kind of help restrict what nodes are available, because I'm sure Travis can probably think about this. And sometimes there's a lot of nodes up on Node-RED, and that's one of the benefits of having it open source is everybody can create anything. But when you start kind of creating and thinking about the security and compliance, you want to select the ones that are appropriate for your particular environment. So, and then the last is we're also SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. So if you're concerned about security and data retention and making sure that's all in the safe and compliant space, we are compliant there. But to deploy, there's multiple different ways of deploying the, we'll refer to as devices. And that's a device is just anything, and that's on the right-hand side. Those are anything that runs outside of the FlowFuse platform. Again, in this particular case, it'd be like the NCD gateway. But I forgot where I was going with that for a second, my bad. But basically, you're looking at all of the deployments. Oh, the deployments, how you can deploy that. They can either be on bare bone, that can be on another Docker container, that can be on Windows, that can be on Linux, that can be on Apple, whatever you can pretty much imagine. And then the FlowFuse platform itself runs on both Docker and Kubernetes. And then we do have some support for some of the things like OpenShift as well. But these are all the kind of deployment mechanisms, and there's also parity between the different systems. And last but not least, but what are we managing? We're managing Node-RED, and this is one of the things that Travis talked about in 2015. Is that's when they started kind of picking up and seeing that. I picked it up around 2016 when it was deployed on Raspberry Pis. But one of the big things they kind of talk about is that we were founded, and FlowFuse was founded by our CTO and the founder of Node-RED, Nick O'Leary. He open sourced it around 2014. We talked about the nodes and access to those nodes. There's about over 4,600 integrations with different systems and added to daily. And we have about 500 downloads of Node-RED to Docker alone. So this is a tool that's been used widely amongst the industry, and where we are what our goal here at FlowFuse is kind of to bring that up into a space that is enterprise ready, that makes it manageable, easily usable for all of our different customers. So general kind of like what we do type of approach and why we do it and how we do it. And today, going back to the architecture diagram, we've got a little bit of a demo. We're not going to go into the full deployment of things. We'll kind of show you the platform. Maybe there's some questions that's coming through, but what we are leveraging is the gateway sitting on one of these devices in which we see this vibration monitoring sensor that is communicating via DigiMesh to the gateway. I didn't just show it here, but we're going to be running a dashboard, and the dashboard is going to be running within the FlowFuse platform, and we're going to be sending the data from the sensor to the gateway, and the gateway is going to be sending into the dashboard and visualization via MQTT within our own MQTT broker built into the FlowFuse platform called project nodes. And we'll go over that here in a few. But let's just jump over. It's going to take me just a second to get that pulled up. But I'll let it, if you have any thoughts or questions, Travis, while I'm pulling that up.
Yeah, no, one thing I just wanted to touch on is the ease of use of Node-RED. We found with a lot of our customers who maybe are not, computer science college graduates. A lot of guys, are running a production floor and they need a simple way to monitor some information. It's so quick and easy to deploy and start using Node-RED. It's not, you don't need to know how to program. You don't need to be a Python developer or a JavaScript developer. It just makes it so easy for so many people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, Travis, can you see my screen and we can see FlowFuse
Yep.
platform? Perfect.
Yep, we're good.
So what we have here is, we'll do a little bit of an overview, but what we have is a multi-tenant type of application. We're leveraging FlowFuse Cloud today, and which you can see all the different teams we have built into the system. Today, we created one for the NCD.io and for this presentation, and we have what's called applications inside of the FlowFuse platform. And applications, think of them as like use cases. So for an example, today, what we would do is maybe have an application that is for vibration sensors, because I'm going to group all my vibration sensors together. We're calling it NCD setup, but basically vibration sensors. So it's segmenting there. And then we also have these built out in sectioned out into instances and also devices. And we'll jump into those in a second, but really kind of want to highlight maybe a little bit of the application and talking about maybe some of the features there, like snapshots in the DevOps pipeline. So right now we're looking at the instances, looking at the DevOps pipeline. In this particular case, I do have my device in development mode because I was looking at it in a second ago. But basically, DevOps pipeline is what I was mentioning, was being able to initialize and work from, let's say, a different environment and then deploy it down to your different devices. You also have the ability to see the logs, who's been doing things, what type of audit logs are running, who's been creating snapshots and so forth. But switching back to applications, you can see here's our particular application we're going to work with today. And we have two Node-RED runtimes that we're going to be leveraging. The one that's in the cloud that is leveraging the dashboard and visualization, which can be seen here. And let me just go ahead and take a look at this. And then we also have our Node-RED instance, which is creating the data. And before I get started, I'm actually going to open up this editor as well so we can see it. So this is the one that's in the cloud, so we can see how that information and data is coming in. But again, easy way to just open up, visualize, click on things and click on dashboard, open up the dashboard, see the data coming in. And it looks like right now we've got a little bit of data showing about what this particular vibration monitor is, what the temperature is, and so forth. And maybe, I don't know if Travis, you want to kind of give a general overview about how this dashboard is and what type of information we're seeing here?
Yeah, so right now, this is data from one of our single channel vibration sensors. What we're seeing here is the temperature reading. the ODR, which is the frequency at which acceleration readings are being taken from the X, Y, and Z axes. We can see the battery level of the wireless sensor itself. And then we're seeing the RMS, the minimum, the maximum, and then we're also seeing the peak readings. Of course, it's going to be a little boring to look at because this sensor is sitting on my desk. So there's not a whole lot of vibration going on with it right now. But for the purposes of the demo, it's kind of handy to have it next to me here. So yeah, this is, like I said, the RMS readings, or the summary data, as we call it. This is not the raw time domain data. But what we can do is we could actually stream the raw time domain data from these vibration sensors to the gateway, and then from the gateway to the FlowFuse cloud. And then on the cloud instance, or I don't know if that's the right terminology, the cloud
It's
instance of Node-RED.
platform instance, but that's yeah. I would use
Yeah,
that
platform
terminology.
instance.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, we could actually take that raw time domain data, and rather than messing with doing FFT analysis on at the sensor or at the gateway, now we can do it on the cloud. We can deploy a Node-RED flow that would ingest that raw time domain data, do FFT analysis on it, and then display that information that way. Mitku had asked about the differences between Node-RED and FlowFuse. I would say FlowFuse gives you the ability to remotely manage the FlowFuse deployments on your gateways, while also allowing you to have that Node-RED flow instance on the cloud. And then also having that dashboard hosted on the cloud rather than on the local gateway. Should that local gateway go down, you're still going to have access to the dashboard. So that's probably the biggest benefits of it.
Hmm. And kind of taking that is really the Node-RED and FlowFuse it creates a delivery mechanism for your Node-RED instances. It's a mildly customized version of Node-RED. And what I mean by customized is essentially when we open up one of these instances, we have configuration. So for example, environment variables all can be edited here. And we're three of the four, I think, main maintainers of Node-RED are part of the FlowFuse team. And we just allow to do additional configuration. One of the things that we kind of talked about is like, let's say, version control of your palette. So I think somebody mentioned something in the dashboard about the particular connect or nodes and so forth. But this is where you can start editing and managing what version of those nodes are running as well, and kind of manage that. And what we do is when we create a snapshot of, let's say, a Node-RED instance, we're bundling up all this information and then being able to then deploy it and back it up, roll back. So every single time you click deploy within your Node-RED application, we're actually taking a snapshot of it and storing it within inside of the environment. So let me go over to an instance that actually has snapshots real quick. Grieving
Yeah,
bunting, snapshots.
the
Yeah, there we go.
version control to the snapshots is really cool. I love
Yeah.
that.
And it'll make your life a lot easier. So some kind of like the rollback, some of the features you have is like deploy snapshot, view snapshot, download the snapshot, and then set as a target, which means basically if you want to set as a target, anytime you restart it, it will always go back to that default setting. Um, but going into the flows real quick, the first flow we want to start talking about is the data coming into the system. So we have the wireless gateway, and we're leveraging, in this particular case, this is the device this is the FlowFuse device running on the device agent. And what we have here is we have the um, where is it? The NCD communications node, in which what we're doing is capturing that data. And we've installed this already. And then we've brought in two nodes to be able to capture that data. One is to connect to the gateway, and the other one is actually capture the data. And then we're sending it via the project node, which is the built-in MQTT mechanism. And we're setting up the topic NCD/vibration and broadcasting across our across the FlowFuse platform. in which now we have access in the other FlowFuse platform, which is in the cloud. So think about it this way. You're going to have access to the cloud everywhere, and you want to maybe see that information and data easily and accessible while also having to authenticate with FlowFuse to be able to see it. So let's say you're an engineer overseeing multiple different, let's say, tank farms across Texas or something like that. And you want to know what the volume or vibration or whatever mechanisms for those, but you don't want to have to be able to remote into it. What you can do is leverage FlowFuse to be able to send that data up to a centralized dashboard. So therefore you can access it and visualize it. So you would go to flowfuse.com and you would just sign in. And from that sign in, you're basically brought into your platform in which you can go into your your ncd.teams and access that dashboard by just clicking dashboard and opening that up. But highlighting again the MQTT coming in on the topic ncd.vibration, and that data is coming in and then being sent to this pre-configured dashboard that was created by NCD. And that's probably a good transition point to really talk about all the different dashboards that NCD has already created to work with their sensors. So instead of me switching out and changing screens and doing things like that, isn't it, what is it, blog.ncd.io?
D.io. Actually, I think it's actually ncd.io/blog. Or you can just go to the site and click learn at the top.
Perfect. Thank you. And I want to highlight that they're already doing a lot of work with Dashboard 2.0. For to essentially to be able to pull this dashboard into your system, you're going to go to IoT vibration temperature sensor dashboard right here. I think this is the one we did. And click on it and follow along this guide. And they've got many, many different guides that will kind of, essentially build out everything you need to know, and especially just import it. So if we scroll down, I believe there's an import CSV, the function to download a CSV from the browser. So I do believe it. No, it goes to installing the library. There it is. There it is.
Right there.
Mhm.
Yep.
So you open up and here's the JSON, and how you would basically go about that is copy the raw, open up FlowFuse, and then click on import, and you're just going to paste that information there and click import. Not going to click it here because it would add another sensor or another subflow to our environment. But it's as easy as that to really get started. So just a quick view. I mean, it's really, really, really simple of what you guys have done as far as being able to connect to your devices, looking at the particular sensors like the serial device, bringing it online. You guys have made it slick and easy to bring that data in. So is there anything more you want to add, Travis, before we maybe move on to questions?
No, I don't think so. One thing to kind of, I guess, maybe clarify a little bit, whenever he was on the like the flow that he has up here, this is a flow that's actually running on my gateway in my home. I can go to a FlowFuse site, sign in, and remotely reconfigure and redeploy this flow to that particular gateway or to a fleet of gateways as part of a group. And then the other flow that he was showing, that's running on the cloud. And the cool thing about that is that project end node, that's data coming from any gateway that's connected to that. So I could have multiple gateways at multiple sites, all feeding out of that project end node and going to the dashboard node there. So it's sort of like you've got your centralized flow on the cloud that's ingesting the data from all your gateways from all sites and then putting it on a dashboard. Or, of course, you could have multiple cloud flows and sort of isolate groups of gateways or specific gateways. Just very powerful to be able to do that. The environmental variables that FlowFuse provides gives you an incredible amount of power. So if you've used Node-RED in the past and are familiar with it, it's like Node-RED on steroids. It just gives you so many new fun capabilities.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So I will stop sharing my screen, or maybe I'll look at some of the questions to see what we've got coming through to make sure that
Mhm.
if anything is part of the um, I can share on my screen. So I'm new to FlowFuse, but I do use Node-RED. What are the main differences between the two things? I think we kind of answered that. I think a little bit, but highlighting, think of FlowFuse is a platform to help deploy your Node-RED instances. It elevates, it secures, it allows for remote connection. Allows for role-based access. And kind of like that role-based access, for example.
Security is a big deal.
Exactly. So
And
members, if
and
I want to create, go ahead.
I'm sorry, just to touch on the security aspect, know that the data coming from the sensor wirelessly to the gateway is AES 128-bit encrypted. And then once it's on the gateway, that data going to FlowFuse is secured through MQTTS. So yeah, go ahead.
And encrypted through the platform. So the
Mhm.
device agent, which is running on the gateway, is communicating back to the FlowFuse platform via port 443 on an encrypted environment. And so,
Uh-huh.
yes, exactly. Security is the top priority. And then being able to have the role-based access about thinking about like who's the owner of the prod of this, let's say, team, who are the members of the team, who's the viewer of the team and dashboard. So one additional thing is maybe you want to give somebody access to these vibration or temperature or wastewater systems to be able to see what's going on, but you don't necessarily want them to interact too much with the system. So you can create dashboard only views, or maybe they can think about it this way. You might have multiple different teams across different plants and facilities where if it's my plant and facility, I'll be a member of my plant and facility and I will be a viewer of others. When what that means is it allows me to go in and see what they're building, what they're using and doing without necessarily allowing me to edit or change. And with this, we also have what we refer to as libraries and team libraries. I don't have any in this particular case, but think of this as a way to set up a pre-configured system. So maybe you have an integration with a certain, let's say, SQL database or some other mechanism. It allows you to share these team libraries. And if you're familiar with the way libraries work inside of Node-RED, what you have here inside the environment is also the same library that you'll have here. I believe it's under import, and we have team libraries in which you can see all the existing libraries are shared across, let's say, a company or a team. So that's one of the main differences. So we answered that one live. And um, so I think one of the questions I think Ben was saying is that there's maybe two versions of the NCD. I don't know if that's something it sounds like you probably have one that's deprecated or something along the lines. That's it's still
Yeah.
in production.
Yeah, we did. We had I believe it was Node NCD-red-wireless. Ben is probably what you were referring to. That was a version of the library that was created for the Enterprise Gateway that we used to manufacture. We kind of still have to maintain it because there are still people using that hardware. But at NCD forward slash Node-red-enterprise is going to be the latest version, which is what we're running today. But I will note that down that maybe we need to put some verbiage on the library repo pages to let people know, that if you don't have the old gateway, you need to be using this new library. So thank you for pointing that out.
Perfect. Um, do you provide any interpretation of the vibration data? I imagine, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So the summary data that we were actually looking at the dashboard here, that summary data, we're doing FFT analysis on on all three axes on the sensor itself. And then the sensor is just sending that summary data. The nice thing about that is it's a small amount of data being sent over the wireless connection. But we do also send raw time domain data from the sensor to the gateway. And at that point, you can do some FFT analysis on that data. A lot of people use different algorithms for their FFT analysis, so you are free to do that. Jacob actually has an article on the Learn side on ncd.io about doing FFT analysis on Node-RED. So you could check that out, make some modifications to it as you see fit. But you do have a lot of flexibility since we do summary data as well as raw time domain data.
All right, so question for either or both hosts. Any tips on getting graphs work smoothly? I'm not trending my NCD sensors in Node-RED since the graphs are slow and bog down the browser. I see the GitHub issues about it, but I wonder if you guys have some tips as graphing the sensors would be nice. Any tips on getting the graphs? So is this this is probably a dashboard question. You're saying as far as the graphs coming into the dashboard are not displaying or trending smoothly. I'm interested. I
Could be
don't know
maybe the
exactly what
refresh.
potentially. Maybe it's the. It seems like maybe as more and more devices come online, it may be a memory. I don't know. We'll have to take that one offline. I'll send that over to our dashboard team, and I'm actually going to copy that and send that to or put in my notepad real quick for me and save that. So I'll save that, Ben, and we'll let you know. So can we say FlowFuse allows for multi-tenancy of the Node-RED? I believe Node-RED doesn't have the functionality by itself in default. So there's multiple different ways of talking about multi-tenancy. So there's the multi-tenancy inside of Node-RED, which is basically functioning kind of, let's say, like Google Docs and being able to have multiple people editing the same flow. That is a core Node-RED thing. And that is coming out with the next release of Node-RED. I think there's a blog about it. I know there's a blog about it because I helped edit it. So I want to say it was Ed, and I think at four. I'm going to say looking at towards forward. If you want to look here, you can read about what's basically the multi-tenancy is coming. There are already iterations of that. If you jump onto FlowFuse and create an account, you'll actually see the ability to see the beta versions, and that's basically what we're referring to as concurrent editing. If you're referring to the ability to have multi-tenant dashboards, that is something also available within Dashboard 2.0. Let me just open that up because there is multiple different ways to kind of view multi-tenancy dashboard multi-user. So there's a multi-user plugin, and there's a whole dashboard associated to basically allowing people to have multi-users inside of the dashboard and being able to articulate in what each user can see within that same dashboard as well. So for example, allowing to interact with the system versus not interact with the system, you can create those configurations within Dashboard 2.0 and with FlowFuse. I hope that answered your question. I went kind of a spray and pray type of approach, and it looks like. Are you familiar with this? Will NCD support the new WOT module? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, I was looking at the link John provided there. I don't see any reason why not. It just looks like maybe a different type of protocol for getting data to the cloud. We're extremely flexible, and our wireless device nodes and our wireless gateway nodes are just outputting JSON objects, which pretty much every protocol in the world handles. So I see no reason why we couldn't use that library on the gateway or on the cloud instance of Node-RED. Should be perfectly fine. I did see Ronald in the general chat asked if we could push sensor data to the cloud. Is this pre-installed? The Enterprise Gateway does come with Node-RED pre-installed. So I'm going to say yes to that question. It is pre-installed for you. You do not need to install Node-RED whenever you receive the gateway. Now, if you want to use FlowFuse, we will need to install the device agent and deploy the YAML file. But it's extremely straightforward. Gray is, I believe, either putting together an article on using our gateway as a full transparency. It's a Robustel EG 5100. And Gray was working with Robustel on FlowFuse. So I think he's got some resources on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very simple to deploy.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's say you already have a Node-RED instance where you have configuration files. We have guides that basically document and outline how to do that conversion from a Node-RED instance to a FlowFuse Node-RED runtime. And then basically the process to deploy the FlowFuse to that, let's say, gateway is you'll stop your Node-RED instance from automatically booting and starting. I believe it uses PM2, so I think it's like PM2 stop Node-RED, I think is the command, if I remember and recall correctly. Once you've started that, essentially you'll install the device agent and go through the documentation for installing the device agent. And if you follow the conversion, then you'll have all the all your existing flows now with FlowFuse, and it's a really quick, easy setup process to the point where I thought it would just be kind of boring to watch me go through it today. But perfect. So we have a couple more questions coming through, and it looks like I can deploy Node-RED flows on the device. How does the communication work? I understand that from FlowFuse, I can deploy Node-RED flows on the device. How does that communication work? So the
He may
way
be asking about the actual transfer method of getting it to the device.
getting Node or FlowFuse to the device, I can send a that information. So FlowFuse device agent installation. And running the device agent, it's installation. So there's a quick guide, and maybe I'll share my screen real quick. And what you can see is it's a pretty simplistic. Oh, I'm just trying to get my screen all situated for me. Every single time I start sharing my screen, it messes up on me, so my apologies. So it's pretty straightforward as far as installing. So you'll install the device agent, and then from there, just like running Node-RED, in this particular case, you're just going to run the command FlowFuse device agent and give it a port number of which you wanted to run, and it'll basically call home over port 443 back to where your platform is. And during that process, there'll be a couple different ways to make that communication. There's even a simplified command that is created through FlowFuse, which basically allows you to run one command. It creates all the documentation after you install the device agent and makes that connection via port 443, and that communication stays open via reverse proxy. But to
Yeah.
get started with it, installing the device agent, I can just drop that in chat as well. So, and when I'm using SQL data in FlowFuse, the data is stored in the cloud. When I'm using SQL data in FlowFuse, the data is stored.
He's asking if he deploys a flow that's logging data to a database, is that database hosted on the gateway or on the FlowFuse cloud?
So in that particular case, the platform of which and where you build that, let's say SQL database in that integration. So let's say, for example, you want to log it on the device agent, you'll still deploy that locally to the device agent. If you want to log it into, say, a cloud, you'll spin up your own, let's say, SQL database that will have the communication and credentials authenticated between the cloud instance and that gateway. And that's one way to leverage environment variables between different different, let's say, devices. Oh, what is the word I'm looking for? Between the different runtimes is you have your environment variables. So therefore, they can essentially be running the exact same flows, but your environment variables point to different, let's say, IP addresses and authentication parameters for that particular integration. And I
There
answered
was
that
a
live.
there was a question if NCD offers wireless pressure, TDS monitoring, total dissolved solids. We do offer dissolved oxygen monitoring. Um, I, I'm not exactly sure which solids you're wanting to monitor, but we do have quite an array of monitoring products in that space. If you have the requirement for something we don't offer, like we mentioned earlier, we do offer custom development services, and we would be happy to discuss that with you. And then there was kind of one other question in here from Alexandra for me. Is NCD capable to use other manufacturer sensors? So our enterprise gateway is a network connected device. So you've got Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and then with the higher end version, you have cellular. And then it has the DigiMesh wireless module built into the gateway, which is how it ingests data from our wireless sensors. It does not have LoRaWAN built into it, but you do have root access to it. So if these are network connected IoT devices, there's no reason you can't ingest data from those devices into a Node-RED flow, convert that data and send it to the cloud. There are some customers that will actually set up our enterprise gateway as a Wi-Fi access point while it's also connected to the network over Ethernet. So if you've got wireless IP cameras, those can actually connect directly to the enterprise gateway, and then you could stream that video feed through the enterprise gateway. So you having root access, yes, you can pretty much do anything you want with the enterprise gateways. Just know that our support's going to be a little bit limited with third-party devices.
Any other questions before we start kind of closing out? Our
Yeah, in
NCD
Europe.
products using, yeah.
Yep. So in the Americas, we offer 900 megahertz wireless devices. For the European market, we do offer the entire line with 868 megahertz, and we do ship there regularly. So yes, we are good in Europe. In regions of the world not covered by 900 megahertz or 868, we do offer all enterprise wireless sensors with 2.4 gigahertz. So worldwide, we can provide solutions.
Perfect. So last little couple of things. If you want to get started with FlowFuse, go to flowfuse.com and click sign up or sign in, and you will be greeted with creating an account, and you can get 1 month free trial. And if you're interested in FlowFuse self-hosted, there's an open source version and as well. And doesn't have full features, but you can kind of get started. I would recommend starting with the cloud. And if you're interested in booking a demo, just email at demo@flowfuse.com or reach out online and contact sales, and we'll be able to get you going. And over to Travis.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions about the hardware that we offer, custom design services, or the white labeling services that we provide, please feel free to jump on ncd.io and hit contact us, or even better, hit the community page and open up a discussion with all of us. Every engineer sees every post on that community, and we're very receptive, very responsive, and we would be very excited to work with you.
Awesome. Well, Travis, it was a pleasure having you on today. Excited for me to know more about the offerings that NCD provides. I'm excited to hear what our joint customers will hear about and use in the future. And if you have any questions about today or any of the discussion topics, please reach out to us. Again, we also have a Discord server. If you're interested, just go to flowfuse.com, click on the Discord down the bottom, and please, we'll follow up there if you have any additional questions. And again, thank you everyone for joining us. Travis, is there anything last thing you want to say?
Nope, just thank you all so much for coming. Sean, glad you jumped in here. Hopefully you got to learn some new stuff about FlowFuse. It's a lot of fun. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
See you guys.